everybody. Cinephile Mike here, and I am honored to be joined by Academy Award nominated filmmaker Hilla Medalia, the director of the documentary short Children No More Were and Are Gone. This film takes an observational look at a silent vigil in Tel Aviv and is currently nominated for the Academy Award. Hilla, congratulations, and thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here. And of course, it's such a big honor to be nominated. And for me, it's more about getting people to actually see the film and getting the message out there. And of course, the nomination has played a big role in it.
So your approach to the film is purely observational. There's no narration guiding the audience. Why was it important for you to let the vigil speak for itself?
I think one of the ideas behind the making of the film was to actually let the audience experience the vigil as much as we can, of course. So we try to stay very observational, and also because it's a silence vigil, the goal was and the challenge was how do we actually let the audience experience the silence? So that was something that was extremely important for us. And I'm glad that you felt it was observational because that was really the goal.
And in that, because so much of it is silence, right? And the camera work is often it just holds steady. The world is moving around the vigil. So can you talk a little bit how you collaborated with your cinematographer, Avner Shahaf, to, decide on the visual approach to really contrast the stillness and then at times the chaos?
Yeah. So Avner and I have been working together for years, actually. And every time that we go to start another movie, we have like a whole deep conversation of what it is about and what it is that we want to achieve. And actually, uh, one of the back and forth between us was Avner said we should actually work on a tripod, on a stick. And I thought, it's so hard. Things are happening so fast. We're on the street. It's gonna kind of it's gonna make us not as mobile as we might and as we might need. But he really insists on it. And really because we wanted to, on one hand, you said it perfectly. Like we really wanted to capture the stillness of the vigil, because that's one of the strong thing, when activists stand with those photos of a child and there is no slogan, they don't scream, they stand silently. And even if they experience violence or reactions for passerbys, they don't react. So there is a stillness to the actual vigil. So when Avner and I were discussing how to shoot it, it was part of the approach. And then also we wanted to capture like the magnitude and the effect of the passerby. And so, so I think that were kind of the guidelines of how we approach it. And yeah, and of course, the choice of the candid camera and the kind of lenses all comes into play to give that approach and that feeling. And also, it's really strong. There's something extremely strong that I always like to say, even though it's all silence, it screams louder than any voice. So we were really trying to also capture it with the actual, through the visual, not only through the sounds.
And when you're documenting something like this that's so immediate and it's so emotionally raw, what did the idea of responsibility mean to you as a filmmaker in piecing this together?
So this whole film came out of the idea of responsibility and what is our role as a creator and storytellers and filmmakers within these 2 years of war plus. Um, and I think we do have a lot of responsibility, and it's very easy to sit, of course for me, but to put myself with this kind of, story, but really also the activists and they are bringing into the public a message and a voice that is not existing. I mean, we in Israel, we don't see what you see here in Gaza. And those are mainly women and young and beautiful and with, a lot on their plate. And they choose every week to come out and to do a simple act, but something that is extremely effective and has a lot of influence. And I think the same goes to us, as a filmmaker, I basically was trying to give this voice and the voice of these children and the act of those activists a kind of a bigger voice than they could do individually itself. And I feel that, us as a filmmakers, that our work can reach such a wide audience. So we need to understand that and be responsible. And even if it's not so easy, and even if it's put ourselves up in the front, I mean, you have to see the talkbacks, or even 2 hours after nominations announced, the cultural minister of Israel went after me. Like he said that I'm amplified the voice of Hamas and other things, but which I don't think so. I think that it's actually absurd to me that empathy seems by people as people look at them as they betray, and I think that's absurd. But of course we must take responsibility, and we must do films that are basically telling a story that is not always easy, that is not always, that sometimes put us in the line, just like this activist. And that's why for me there are inspirations, this woman.
And as you were collecting all of this footage, the silent protest, the silent vigil, the people that were walking back and forth and screaming and cursing at these poor people, like there's such a range of emotions that we get in this 35 minutes. We have anger, we have grief, we have restraint, we have frustration, we have sarcasm. And I'm amazed that you were able to collapse all this into such a short form, but it's very effective. And I wonder how you worked, your editor, Erez Laufer. How did you structure that idea to get that repetition of, the week after week as, more people came to this without losing the emotional impact of just feeling cyclical?
So when we started the film, we didn't know it would grow from a narrative perspective. Our goal was we wanted to make a short, and we wanted to really capture the vigil itself. That was the kind of initial goal, if you will. And then when they went out, and also another point about the editing, we were even thinking whether we should talk about the larger protest where they started or not, because it's a bit complicated, to explain that there were other protests. But eventually we end up doing it because, first of all, when they started the vigil, they started it within this context, right? And in Israel, actually, even before the war, there has been massive protest against the government. And when the war started, pretty much the same people were joining the hostage families and protesting against the war and for the release of the hostages. But it was never about the children in Gaza. And I think capturing the context of where they started the vigil help us with the silence, because we were able to hear the loudness of the protest, and then on the other side, the quietness within. And then also when they went out of this so-called safer place where people could let them be, it became very violent. So that, I think that's how we structure it. And it was interesting that you point out the repetition, because the repetition in our film actually plays a narrative story,
Yeah.
because every week they coming, they're standing, they're doing the same thing, and there are more photos of children who are dead, and there are more people joining them. And we really try to also build that in. And I wanted to point out another thing. We try to really focus on the children and not so much on the activists. And these activists are incredible. And the vigil is a very, very small part of what they do. They do unbelievable projects, and they're involved in so many things. And the vigil came very spontaneously. It's like after the second ceasefire collapse in March 2025, in a single day, 193 children were killed, and they printed the pictures in their home printers and went to the street. That's how it started, just 15 people, and it grew. But so we didn't want to focus on the making of the vigil. We only kept two scenes in the film, and I would like to speak about to point out one of them, which is basically the one time where they decided to draw pictures because to draw pictures of flowers because actually only few only very small percentage of the children that were killed they were able to find photos. And so one day they decided that in order to commemorate all the others, because there are over 22,000 children that were killed, and I don't know the exact number of what they have, but it's a small percentage. So they created, they put posters, they drew flowers, and it wasn't so effective because for us, the people who pass by the vigil, a picture of a child gets to our heart, but numbers, names, drawing of flowers was not so effective. So that's kind of a unique scene within the film. Um, and it's really tragic that most of these children didn't leave even a photo behind, and some families perished altogether. And then the other thing, it shows something about us as a society, about what's affect us and what's move us, and what doesn't get us deep.
And you talked a little bit about this, but I want to just ask, the idea. So from a film, like we've said, it's built on stillness and quiet resistance and capturing this world. What has it meant to see the film go on this journey on the global stage, moving to the Academy Awards now in a couple of weeks? What's that experience and journey been like? It seems there's been some not so great moments that came as a result of it, but
Those are also great moments because I believe that we need to speak and we need to discuss also the things that are not so comfortable to us. Um, so we actually had a very different journey than most of the films that are nominated this year. We did the film very quickly. We felt as we were making it, we felt that we must finish it fast and we have to get the message out, and the war was still going. So we started filming around mid-June, and by September 23rd, it was already in theaters in the US, and in November we premiered at Doc NYC, and in December we were nominated. I mean, we're shortlisted, sorry, and then January we were already, nominated, which is incredible. But also at the same time, we're trying to get the film now in front of audience and do all that. So the I think what's really incredible with this nomination, beyond, the honor and, feeling great about it, is that it really allow us the opportunity to put the film in front of people. And that's why we make it, and that's the most important thing. So in the US, Roadside Attraction, they're releasing the film in theaters, and it's in 234 theaters around the US, which is incredible. And I get messages, people write me on like social media saying, "Oh, we saw your film," and it's just really incredible. In Israel, we have tons of screening as well, and people wants to see what is this film that is nominated. And in the UK and Ireland, it's available on Sky. But it's a short. It's
yeah.
really, incredible that it's available, and hopefully it will just allow us to keep doing the work and the very needed work that we can do with the film with the collaboration of different organization, and hopefully a lot of people will see it.
And one last question before I let you go. When audiences, and so you said people reach out on social media, when audiences experience this film, what is something you hope stays with them beyond the headlines that, most of us know? Like, what's something that you hope stays?
So I think in different places, I hope for different things, but there are few things that are in common. And also, there's so much that I hope the film will do, but I'll just point out a few things. First of all, about speaking truth to power, the power of that we all have with a simple act to that it can be actually extremely meaningful and could make a change, and also the power to listen, because I think one of the strongest thing that is happening in Israel about Israel Palestine, but also about many many other topics, is this big divide within society. You're either pro-Mamdani or against Mamdani or pro-Palestinian or against or pro-Israel. And this gap created that we cannot talk and we cannot discuss. And that actually, I really feel is something that is extremely difficult, sometimes within your close circle, but in general, we need to make a change in, of course, in the conflict and but also in many other topics. And I think that's something that I learned from this activist that if we want people to listen and if we want to create a cracks within this big shield of denial, we need to be able to not respond, not be violence, and keep saying what we have to say, and hopefully it will crack something. And I just wanted to also add that actually the vigil is continue, and it's happening in New York, in LA, in London, and in many places as well as in Tel Aviv. And the reason is that they adapt the vigil to what's so needed. So now there is a lot of violence in the West Bank, or there was a time that it was extremely cold and people in Gaza living in tents. So they're reminding us about that aspect and that story that is not told.
Well, Hilla, thank you again for taking the time to chat with me. Congratulations on the nomination. As you said, you took my pitch. Children No More Were and Gone is screening this in theaters right now as part of the Oscar-nominated documentary shorts programs distributed by Roadside Attraction. So make sure you check your local listings to get out and see these powerful films on the big screen. You can visit the link oscar-nominatedshorts.com and you can find spoiler-free reviews of all of this year's nominated shorts on here on my channel. Hilla, again, thank you so much and have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much.